Many people may receive the medicine and the wisdom which I hope to share with you today is something that is rather controversial. I do not see it that way. It is maybe systematically problematic in the world in which we live today, but that's something that we as a people can find our way through that if we have a good heart and good intentions and clean hands and a pure spirit, then we can find a way that we can work through our differences in a way that honors and respects all people involved in the process. We think about our native people, for example, and we'd like to think them as peaceful relatives and peaceful beings, but admittedly, there were times when even our people were involved in war, not necessarily with the white enemy. Many times and oftentimes at war even amongst ourselves. But at the heart of it, I believe that those wars that we fought amongst ourselves were fought out of necessity. Sure, there was anger and hostility attached to some of that. But I believe that the heart of the Indian, there lies a great desire for there to be peace among all men and all people and all nations. And so as we move through this talk today, I want to begin by saying this has absolutely nothing to do with politics. It has absolutely nothing to do with one's political persuasion. What it does have something to do with is how we interact and how we conduct ourselves in our affairs in the presence and in the midst of differences. So this is not going to be, nor will it ever be, a talk about politics or political ideologies. I have always, and I will always continue to keep politics outside the narrative and the scope and the purpose of this church. I do not always speak in prejudicial terms such as good or bad, right or wrong, light or dark, but we cannot deny that within the scope of the sphere of the human reality, there are at the very least opposites. And it feels and seems as though these opposites too often are on the forefront of conflict and often violence, and too frequently even death. Through recent years, a new term, at least in this old man's vocabulary, has been introduced into the language of the human family. Perhaps it's been thought of and even considered throughout human history. But only recently and only now has it been elevated and cemented together as a concept that has the empirical and existential power and potential to dissolve, dissuade, and divide the people, not only within the boundaries of our own interpersonal relationships, but within our own homeland, nation, and within the parentheses of an entire world in an unprecedented manner. And that's cancel. Cancel culture. Cancel. What it does remind me of is the European Constitution and approach to the elimination and the virtual extinction of an entire race of human beings, our native brothers and sisters, our ancestral relatives. And through the concepts, for example, manifest destiny, a 19th century doctrine or belief that the United States had a divine mission to expand its territory across the vast American continent, from the Atlantic to the Pacific, and take whatever they wanted as they passed through. This ideology was justified as westward expansion and territorial acquisition became the thing of the day, and the removal and the displacement of our relatives, Native Americans, as it is seen as a way to spread democracy, white European colonization, and civilization. Manifest destiny had, and in many ways still exercises, a forefront weaponization, which, when successfully executed, follows the precepts of divide and conquer, change and convert, and if those are not successful, then the man will simply be eliminated, canceled, or removal, or at the extreme, extermination. It's happened to our own people. If you, a business, an individual, a company, or a corporation, acts and behaves in a manner today that is found offensive or disagreeable, then either is a matter of personal preference or collective collaboration. You, and the individual business, the company, and the corporation can be wiped out and destroyed and canceled by a simple stroke of the pen. A social media post, a review, a protest, or any other means of elimination, including murder. We're seeing that, the latter of which is escalated to unprecedented proportions. Only recently we experienced this extreme in the murder of a CEO of a major healthcare company, or an outspoken and rather controversial young man assassinated during one of his campus events, just to cite a few examples. There are more, substantially more. But again, my purpose here today in sharing this talk with you is not to debate the reasoning or the justification of any of these actions, only to bring them to our attention in the moment. Simply put, people are being murdered or killed simply because of a belief or a conviction of a religion, a political persuasion, or personal narrative to which they are attached. If individuals or businesses or companies, corporations postulate certain paradigms, ideologies, be it political, social, sexual, environmental, that are found to be counter to another, those individuals and entities can suffer dire consequences that affect not only the bottom line profit, but the mental health and the stability of the people as well. We can even include bullying into the character of this culture. I know for a fact, and many of you very well may too, that our youth and children are facing severe, serious, and consequential abuse in the hands of their peers and fellow classmates. especially if they are considered somehow different from the others, be it in the manner in which one dresses, styles or unstyles, one's hair, looks, thoughts, behavior. Now, I call that the uniqueness of character, mind you. And it can be a brutal place of existence to be mocked and made fun of and bullied and pushed around. I speak rather personally on this matter, as I was a victim of childhood bullying. Little me, being small in stature, dark, oily skin, and clearly an unconventional thinker. My neighborhood and early school days were hard and harsh, for I was the constant subject of the taunts of older, bigger boys who lived next door or sat in the desk beside me. I can still recall the taunts from an older boy. His name was Tim Jones, who rode my bus, and every day when I walked up the steps to find my seat, he greeted me with a, "Here comes the greasy little nigger." I do not use that language in my vocabulary. I use it here only to make a point. It was horrible. And those days were the source of too many arrows for a young boy. It took years to heal from those arrows, and still, at times, albeit rare anymore, they still vibrate with a reminder of just how far I have come. All of this, cancel bullying, either on an individual or corporate level, has and will continue to exude serious consequences as we are becoming a people whose level of trust has been compromised and diluted to the point of individual isolation in its own way and expression. We trust few people and even fewer institutions. We are suspicious of our neighbors, and we question the actions and behavior and decisions of others. Our level of trust in our government and governing officials has eroded to the lowest of lows, casting a shadow of doubt like a heavy, burdensome blanket of darkness and suspicion over the shoulders of the people it covers, and promotes a level of disconnect among us from which it will be challenging and difficult to recover. Now, I find it rather interesting that this sadness has befallen us at this stage in our human history and evolution, and that means that time and the emergence of the seventh generation. The seventh generation and the prophetic mandate of our calling and our destiny to be the ones who bring back and restore harmony and unity for the times in which we live today. If we were to summarize the seventh generation prophecy upon which we as a faith community stand, I am convinced that the one word would be unity. For as he said, upon suffering, beyond suffering, the red nation will rise again, and it will be a blessing to a sick and a broken world. A world of selfishness, a world of separations, a world of broken treaties and promises, a world longing for the light again. And none of us can deny that that is not this day. Crazy Horse looked and he said, I see a time of 7 generations when all of the colors of mankind will gather, will come together beneath the sacred tree of life, and the whole circle will become one again. Perhaps we've not yet suffered enough. For the course of human history is not only contrary to that, but it does oftentimes seem in the moment to be running in a totally opposite direction. Sadly, we have a long way to get to that point of unity. But we cannot shirk. We cannot shirk at our generational calling and responsibility as the agents and the movers and the shakers and the instruments and implements and voices of cultural change. Admittedly, there are things existing in the world today that just need to be canceled. As if and when necessary, we are ever to attain any resemblance of global unity. I could write a long, long essay on those matters. Prejudice, judgment, racism, sexism, discrimination, social dominance, and economic injustice, among so many other isms and ideologies that need no longer exist in a culture of harmony, a culture of the 7th generation, you see. So even then, and even there, I would like to suggest to our thinking a 3-front approach of moving away from and moving towards in a good and an honorable manner in which we walk and relate. First, I believe that we must learn and we must practice the discipline of becoming people of tolerance. We have to become a people of tolerance, tolerant of the idealized differences of others. This does not mean that we have to agree or support nor condone certain ideologies and behaviors. But tolerance, you see, enables us and empowers us to exist within the boundaries of those differences without angst, without harsh energies, and especially without violence. Difficult for any of us to achieve a state or a place of enlightenment, but life will flow so much more harmoniously when we arrive at that place in which we have become people of tolerance. I may not agree with another. I may not agree within others in our own community or within our corporate structures or within the halls of parliament or government. And that's all right. There's no imperative that we do have to agree. But there is, however, a mandate that we must live in and promote a society and a culture of tolerance. Note, now there are many energies which can be attached to tolerance. One may say, well, I don't like it, but I'll tolerate it. One will say, but if I have to, I'll tolerate it. Well, hear the harshness of even that way of expressing it, right? Or another one will say, I will not tolerate this or that. And again, hear the angst attached to that. It is quite unique in another energy that acknowledges the differences and agrees to be at peace with it. There, behind that door, you will find the magic and the miracle of unity. And that is where Creator intended for us to dance, as it was intended to be and created to be in the beginning. Tolerance. Secondly, acceptance. Now, acceptance follows and flows from tolerance, for until we achieve a level of personal and peaceful tolerance, only then are we able to open the door and accept that which is, and accepting that without anger or angst. I can accept that which I have come to tolerate, and equally I can tolerate that which I have come to accept. These are self-disciplines that are urgent and necessary to the fulfillment of the prophecy and its prophetic people, you and me, the seventh generation, for the attainment of the ultimate goal, that centeredness within, where we are all one in the sacred circle of life, and that demands that we are tolerant and accepting people of and among all beings. A place in which all of the colors of mankind will gather in harmony and unity, and as Crazy Horse saw, then we shall be as one. Third is transformation. Oh, this is where the real magic begins. The big black book admonishes us to be renewed by the transformation of our mind. And when we come to a place of tolerance, followed by an ability to accept even within the difference, we can enter a portal of divine influence in which we leave the skin of the old self behind and emerge on the other side, a new creation, born again and transformed. We leave behind our carnal nature, a nature that is stuck in the muck and mire of the same old or the status quo, and arise into sacred sanctity and sparkle of the divine radiance of Creator itself, again, as it was intended to be in the beginning. We begin to see ourselves, but more so we begin to see our neighbors and our relatives and our friends as the divine beings that we all are. All of us. And as we open to discover the sacredness of ourself, we open that to see the same in others, our neighbors, our relatives. The divine within me sees the divine within you, our Buddhist friends say. And that is the real miracle. Transformation. Now it is my conviction and my hope that when we begin to relate to the world through the practices and disciplines of tolerance, acceptance, and our good prayer that in spite of our differences, in spite of differing ideologies that are not likely, nor is it really necessary to change, but the hate and the anger and angst that we have attached to all of those things will burn and fall away like chaff when we do. It is my hope It is my hope that as we practice these disciplines, the anger and angst will begin to fall away. Our eyes will open, and we will realize, after all, that we are all children of God in this thing that we call the human family. We all breathe the same air. We all drink the same water. We all need the same access to food. And we all live and love on a planet, the same planet, that we all call our home. See it. We are children of the one God, and that God loves us uniquely and individually for the simplicity of me being me, and you being you. And the Creator, Source, Spirit is big enough to love and accept us in that manner, then surely, as its children, we too can do likewise. That is the hope of and for a peaceful future as we navigate our way through so many spheres of personal differences in thought and opinion and behavior. You see, friends, I am convinced that when we begin to see one another as God sees us, as God sees you, as God sees me, my neighbor, whether they be next door, across the nation, or across the world, we will find the desire and the motivation to truly live like seventh generation relatives and fulfill the destiny of the seventh generation prophecy, where and when, as we have said, we shall all truly be as one. The sacred circle of life restored in harmony and unity that was foreseen and foretold so many winters ago. It is, I believe, our only hope, our only chance to manifest that reality and save ourselves from the isolation and perhaps even the extinction of the entire human family. That's a bold statement. And this is not something that we just need to do. No. This is something that we must do as we live, walk, and pray in the good way, that way which seeks the absolute and highest good of all people, all parties, all persuasions, and especially this planet upon which we all live. And we can do so and live in that moment again as it was intended to be in the beginning. I'm reminded of an old church campfire song we sang when I was a younger, and in a more traditional church. And as with a certain literary license that I often invoke, I will change just a couple of the words that fit us a little bit better. But the impact and the significance remains literal and valid for our day today. We are one in the Spirit. We are one with Creator. We are one in the Spirit. We are one with God. And they'll know we are human by our love, by our love. Yes, they'll know we are human by our love. We will walk with each other and we will work side by side. We will work with each other and we will work side by side. And we'll guard each man's dignity and save each man's pride. We will walk with each other. We will walk hand in hand. We will walk with each other hand in hand, and together we'll spread the good news that Creator, that God is in our land. Oh, we'll come now to our time at the altar for the benefit of those that are here with us for the first time today. I will take just a moment to explain some of the things that you will see and experience on our altar today. For Native people, there are essentially four plants that we consider sacraments to all of our ceremonies. And those plants are tobacco, sweetgrass, sage, and cedar. The sage is looked at as a cleansing entity, a plant that cleanses and purifies the area. In fact, from a scientific perspective, it's known to kill about 99% of the bacteria even in your own home. So it's a good plant to have even in your own home for that. But sage clears the area around us. It clears ourselves of any negative energies or any impurities or any juju that's kind of wanting to hang on or hang over us. That's what sage does. And then the cedar is used if you think about putting then a perimeter, a hedge of protection around that space, that person, that entity, that which has just been purified and cleaned by the sage. And the sweetgrass keeps any of those bad spirits from coming back and into you. The fragrance is just so sweet of the sweetgrass that spirit cannot penetrate it. Now, tobacco was a plant that was brought to us many winters ago by white buffalo calf woman. She came during a very difficult winter when the people were hungry and starving. And she taught our people 7 sacred rites, one of which was praying with the pipe, which we do very often in our equinox and solstice ceremonies. But we learned that tobacco is looked at as a vessel or a medium from our voice, our breath, our whispers of prayer and needs and requests and concerns that we want to use to make a good prayer for ourselves. We use the two in a couple of ways. There are many times in our life and many times in our journey, and when we take a certain inventory and just come to realize that there are things that we've been carrying around for far too long that no longer serve us or grow us, influence our happiness. Maybe resentments, maybe anything. But if there are things that today that you're ready to let go of and be free of in your own personal journey, then take a pinch of the tobacco and breathe and speak that into the tobacco and place it onto the fire. And watch the white smoke of surrender waft its way and find its breath and your prayer to the heart and the breast of Creator. Through hope, once we've let things go, we use the tobacco to make what is called a prayer time. Prayer time looks something very much like this, in which we take a piece of the scarlet cloth, a pinch of tobacco, a piece of the hemp twine, and all the while we're forming the little pouch and tying it together, we're speaking our prayer, asking for the things that we need, the help that we need, the guidance, the wisdom, whatever it may be. These are our prayers of hope. We place them here in this container. When it comes the spring equinox, we'll take all of the prayer ties that have been left here by the people, and there are many, and we'll put them into a big bonfire and watch all of that white smoke of all of the prayers of the people for the cycle of one winter make its way to the heavens. And it's a very powerful thing. And what's really powerful for it is that the spring is a time when we celebrate the new year. Everything that was old is behind us, and we begin with a brand new slate and a brand new opportunity with the assurance from the Creator, behold, I'm making all things new. We have moved our donation basket here at this table. If everything that we do in this church and in our ministry, be it ceremony, counsel, whatever it may be, we do not charge for any of that. But we're totally dependent upon your generous gifts and contributions. So if you're able, we ask the blessing for that here. If those of you who are new would like to come to the altar is open to anyone and all of you. And if any of our new relatives come, if I could ask some of our more seasoned relatives that are here to help them and assist them out at the altar and help them do what they need to do to make a good prayer for themselves. So come now.